you listen, the process outweighs the outcome. And so when I get when I get an opportunity to design something or a series of things, I always spend as much time as we possibly can in the process, because you learn about the people that are going to use it. You learn about how to respond to them. And so that's really where I value and elevate the process more than kind of the outcome, especially in the design world.
So let me ask you a question, Alex, because we're kind of putting the cart before the horse.
Go for it.
What puts you in a space in your life? What was the arrow? Who was the catalyst to kind of push you in this direction?
Oh,
Why did you go into this architecture? What in design and creating?
yeah.
See, this what people don't know is that me and Alex, we work out together. We've been working out together for like almost damn 8 years, right? Like eight,
Yeah.
9 years,
Yeah.
something like that. At
Yep.
at IO Fit, right? And so and me and Alex both are very tall, large men, and I was larger then than I am now. And so me and him, and we were around the same age, and we're both Scorpios. So this brother, we think alike, we talk alike. You know what I'm saying? We have pushed each other almost to the point of getting hurt. You know what I'm saying? But
Yeah.
this is one of my deep thinking brothers. We have incredible conversations, and even in some difficult times in my life, I've had some very deep conversations with this brother who has helped me to look at my situation from different perspectives. So I really appreciate his perspective, and I hope you guys can hear that in our conversation today. So, but anyway, Alex, so tell how did we get to
How do you get to this?
how you get to be
Um,
what pushed you? What was the thing that sparked your creativity in this way?
so a couple things. First of all, since this is going to be a mutual love thing, let me tip my cap to you. We do work out. We spend a lot of time in that space together, and you always motivate me to be bigger or better.
Okay.
Bigger in the right places, smaller in other places.
Wait a minute. Wait a
I will tell
minute,
you, your
man.
audience,
This dude.
you're ahead of the curve. You're beating me as far as
Pause.
that slim
Pause.
down, bro.
Pause. See, you already starting your madness. Y'all gotta hear how to see. This is how white people talk. They say things that we
Talking
bros
about
we
how,
can't say that. Just do talk about
say what?
curves, some more bigger in different places. You gotta watch how you say that, bro. I am from the inner city. You got city in your head. I am from the inner city. This is what words collide, y'all. This is my brother. This is how
All
words
right.
collide.
All
So
right.
pause. What are you saying, man? Give me my flowers without all those things you just said. All right.
First of all, I've never seen anybody work as hard as you in the gym. So
Well,
there's
thank you.
one.
Thank you. Sorry.
Two, you've always been a motivation to me, because as we entered that space at the same time, I think we would both agree we were very different people. It was a different part in our life. I was pushing 300 lbs.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been a journey, and I'm sure that that's going to be part of our conversation, has been, that's a process, right? Like, and that's a
Yeah.
process that God willing is never going to be done.
Right. Right. Right.
So I'll give you the flowers there.
I
You're
appreciate you,
strong
brother.
as fuck too, bro. Like, you are a strong dude, like,
And this is a
in
strong
every
dude saying
aspect.
that. This is a strong dude too. So let's not. He's not saying that from a place of weakness. This dude is a strong guy. Go ahead, bro. I'm
I
sorry.
appreciate
I
that.
appreciate
All right, no,
that.
let's appreciate that. All right, so you asked me, kind of coming back to that, like, where
Yeah.
was the jump off? Like, where?
Right.
So I was always a creative kid, and both my parents supported that. My dad is an artist, graduated with a fine arts degree in sculpture, and his entrepreneurial life has zigged and zagged throughout his entire life.
Mm.
My mom was a lifelong educator, and so, like, she was a teacher, then she was a principal, and then she went back to teaching.
Mm-hmm.
And so they got divorced when I was 5. And the environment that they constantly created for me was a place where I could kind of explore some of that creativity. So even at that very young age, I was allowed to be creative, and I was encouraged to be creative. Like, I
Mm-hmm.
think as a pushing 47-year-old parent of 3, seeing what the education system does and kind of puts kids into boxes, it's like, if we can allow folks to be creative and express themselves in their own way, I think that's very much part of the process as
Mm-hmm.
well. So,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I
um,
agree. I agree.
I,
My my mom and my dad were, really, really my mom in particular did a really good job with keeping us in an environment that allowed us to be good.
Yeah.
and encourage that. You know what I'm saying?
S-
So I really hear
And, and, and that's what it takes, because you might learn ways that I don't learn, and I learn in different ways than you learn, and we can express ourselves in a variety of media, and without the ability and kind of the space to be creative, we might never find it. And then we're boxed in, um, we're boxed in a world that doesn't feel accepting, or it doesn't feel like we can be our true selves. And so I think that that's part of, on the second half of my time on this planet, like, I think that that's really kind of focused on is how do we continue to promote those types of environments? And it's going to be different for everybody, but there are some common kind of denominators of what it feels like to be so accepted that you can be your whole self. And so,
it. Mm-hmm.
um,
Did you feel that
just,
when you were growing up?
um, I did, and then I didn't, and then I did again. I think that that's part of life, right? Like when you're young, I did when I was young, and then, everybody, I wouldn't say everybody, I think a lot of people go through stages of adolescence where you're trying to figure yourself out. And, I would say that that was not very comfortable for me. I went to college at the University of Cincinnati, which is close to
Okay.
where I grew up.
Okay.
And
And you waited to grow up. So you grew up in Cincinnati. You
I
went
grew
down
up, yeah,
here.
I actually grew up in northern Kentucky. And so
Oh, okay. Okay.
I grew up across the river, like 3 or 4 miles into Kentucky. I mean, it's
Right,
still
right, 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 right.
pretty much the
Cincinnati.
same geography as Cincinnati.
Cincinnati, whatever they call it.
Yeah, pretty
But
much.
it's in cookie.
And then when I was in school studying architecture, you kind of find your own people.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you find
Mm-hmm.
people that you can vibe with. You find people that are also kind of in that same journey. And that's where I
Mm-hmm.
started to feel more comfortable,
Mm-hmm.
about who I was, and ultimately what I was trying to be.
Mm-hmm.
Um, then I started a career, and that, like anybody else's career, has its ups and downs where it feels like you're very comfortable. And that feels good. And then there's moments where you feel very uncomfortable. And in the moment, that doesn't feel so good. But I can tell you that, in practicing architecture, practicing what I do for 20 plus years now, it's in those uncomfortable moments where you actually can make some great shit
Mm-hmm.
happen, both personally, professionally, and in the space of city. So,
Right.
um, I don't know if that answered your question, but that's kind of what got me into the profession of architecture. I also want to be perfectly clear and acknowledge the privilege that I grew up with. Like, I knew what an architect was when I was like 12,
Mm-hmm.
right? And
Mm-hmm.
so, and so I told my fifth grade teacher that I was going to be an architect,
Mm-hmm.
because I knew that's what I wanted. I knew what it was, or at least I thought I knew what it was. I'm still not exactly sure what it is.
See.
And so I'll transition fast forward, like part of my professional life now, when we work with communities, and I'm very intentional with using the word with, not for, not at, like, there's a lot of folks that approach work, hey, I'm here to help. But it's not a dialogue, it's a monologue. So we're very, very careful and very slow. So when we work with folks, part of our charge is to engage, as many folks as we possibly can, intentionally with youth. Um,
We're talking about your family, correct?
yeah, and just what I do. So,
Yeah.
so, on the city planning side, it's very process driven. I won't go all the way into it,
Oh,
but
no,
one of
no,
the
no.
things, right. One of the things that we've committed to is reaching, young folks, that are in our city, in our spaces. I'm going to tell you that it's to, first of all, those folks typically have the best ideas because it's not been clouded or jaded by being an adult.
Mhm.
It also provides an incredible amount of clarity.
That's
Because
that's a whole
sometimes
other conversation.
it really is like,
Oh my God.
I mean, you grew up different than I grew up, right? Like,
Right,
if
right, right,
let's turn back the clock a certain amount of years. And if I asked you, like, Marquez, like, what do you want to have in your neighborhood?
right.
What would you want to have in your neighborhood?
It would be it would be multi ethnic. like a real, like
Okay.
a, this, like, it would be, when I think aesthetically, it would have different structures depending on the personality of the owner. But they will complement each other. I think that, food. I would see fruits, vegetables. I would see gardens.
Mm.
I see greenery. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Parks. I see. So that that would be if. But I grew up also with that. We have blackberries and grapes and what I'm saying, Concord grapes growing. What I'm saying, we saw that growing on vines. We had apples and pear trees in Cleveland. You know what I mean? And then I
Hmm.
lived in a kind of a multi-ethnic. We had a little line that across 79th, but I saw that, and so for me, that would be ideal. That was something if I could go back and I grew up in a neighborhood, I would love to see that. But I would love to also see the cleanliness that I saw in the suburbs. You know what I'm saying? It was just a big difference when it came to how something was being rolled out to us as opposed to where it looked real clean and stuff. But yeah. I would. That's how I would see it.
Hmm.
What about you? Because if you could see something different from your upbringing that you would have loved to have seen growing up, would influence you a little bit, what would it be? I think that's a great
It's a
question.
great, and that's a great question.
And you posed it. Don't I'm not the one who posed
No, no,
that.
no,
You
but I mean,
posed it to
but I
me.
mean, but you flipped it,
Yeah.
right? Like, and so it's like, if I asked the 10-year-old Alex, I was probably exactly where I wanted to be and I was fine, right? Because I hadn't seen, I only knew what I knew and I didn't know what I didn't know.
He was all about
Going
noise.
back, right? Like going back now, my answer would be very similar to your answer. And I think what's enlightening in these conversations and when we ask questions like that, it's really a unifier.
Hmm.
Like, we're not that different, bro. Like,
Yeah.
you want the same things. I want the, like, it might look a little different. It might feel a little different, but like when we have these conversations, like, that I'm doing a lot of work right now, with the Buckeye Woodhill community.
Hmm.
And let's not, I'm not going to try to paint any other picture. I probably would not meet these folks if not for the work that we're doing. Right. And
Right.
so like, and I'm grateful that I've met these folks that now I consider friends and I think that the feeling is mutual. And guess what we want for the city of Cleveland? The same things.
Same thing.
We want our kids to be able to walk to school. We want the corner shops. We want them to feel safe. We want it to be reflective. We want it to be accepting. Like, we all want the same stuff.
Hmm.
And, and it's a constant reminder that even though we're living very different lives, we all kind of want the same things for ourselves, for our communities, and especially for our families.
Yeah. And so when we're talking about that kind of conversation, how do you think that the way that our cities are structured, the way that economics is going, the way
Hmm.
that we see the gentrification that's causing some urban sprawls to now where the city is seeing the number of people living in the city, so, right?
Hmm.
And yet the demographics is starting to change because you got a certain type of population coming in, rents are going up, crime is up. We had the Fed trying to raise a little bit recently.
Right.
But when we look at this, how do you feel your work um, is affecting it? How do you feel like that? Because you see it, you really see it on
I
the
see it
ground
every
level.
day.
You see it on the
Yeah.
ground level.
I see it on the ground level. Also in those community conversations that we're having with people, they're also expressing this. Like
Yeah,
there's a concern and I'm being kind with the language of concern. I think that there's a real fear.
yeah,
I don't want to put words in people's mouths, but I think that there is a fear of loss. And I think so first of all, kind of in the evolution of um, cities, nothing is organic, Marquez. You know that.
yeah, yeah,
We can go into any neighborhood in the city of Cleveland or
yeah.
really any city in this country
Mhm.
and we can tell the same story. Again, the players might be different. but the variables are going to be very similar. So it's very intentional that the east side of Cleveland has seen the disinvestment that the east side of Cleveland has seen. And we can go all the way back through the history of city development and who was able to get loans coming out of the army after the wars and who wasn't, and what insurance companies did in the 30s as far as redlining. And, you know, it was to devalue land, and it was to devalue the properties to grenade what was the beginning of generational wealth. And so now we can look at these communities.
Destabilize the, and I'm just to add to that, not just devalue the community, but destabilize the family by doing so. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, no, that's it. That's it. And, you know, I in my work, I say constantly that every city map of the city of Cleveland is a redlining map.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what you're looking at. It doesn't matter. You can look at house values. You can look at land vacancy. You can look at where there's a higher cadence or instance of car crashes and severity of injury. You can look at where folks have access to broadband or internet, where it's not available. Like every single map is the same map and it tells the same story. And so part of my work, part of our charge is to change the narrative of that story. Because when we take time to learn from people and listen to people, and there's that commonality of everybody wants the best for themselves, for their neighborhood, it's like, we've got to fight for that. And to kind of come back to what the patterns are and kind of the gentrification ramifications of that, I think that there has to be an incredible amount of sensitivity to ensure that the folks that have been fighting for those places for years and sometimes decades or generations aren't the first ones that are booted out because a tax bill goes up or somebody knocks on their door with a cash deal that seems good at the time, but like if you would have waited for another year, you would have been able to add a zero to that check, you know, and so there's wolves out there. There's folks out there that know what the decisions are or what the trajectories can be, and they're out in front of it trying to take whatever wealth is left and extract out of these communities. Yeah. And so if we can be disruptive to that, then I'm like, that's part of the mission.
Wow. That's powerful, bro. And you know, and me being around you, knowing how you think a little bit, and you really believe this. This is not just something that you're saying, this is rhetoric. I believe, knowing your soul to your soul, very kind young man, very sincere and what you mean when you say that you're, you know, trying to be a disruptor. That word jumps out. When I think about processes, and I want to talk to you, kind of lean into this with you in the family side. You're a family man, correct?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. Man, how long you been married?
Forever.
Forever.
Right. Just celebrated 22 years at the end of September.
Man, congratulations, man. If I had one of those little boom bomb things, they'd be boom, 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 they'd be clapping. I might see if I got the effect. I might add it in. Boom, boom, boom. 22 years.
No, I appreciate that. 22.
Yeah. And so, and people might not know this. I went through a divorce, and so this young man really helped me through my divorce in a very sincere way. And subsequent, you know, me being remarried. So I really appreciate this brother. He know how I really put a premium on relationships. So to hear him a little bit from this, I respect a lot of what he will probably have to say to you guys about that. You know, this is candid stuff, but you are married 22 years. Where did you meet
22 years. I met her in architecture school, so I'm married to my favorite architect.
Do you understand what I'm saying? Listen, fellas, get your woman on your mission. Get you a woman that is on the same mission with you. Now, let me ask you a question. How has the fact that you guys have a common value, similarity, something that you both, enjoy, how has that, helped your marriage and helped you in the tough times of your marriage? And also, how has that been like a catalyst to you guys being able to thrive?
Great question. One, we don't work in the same office. And I'm saying a little bit of silliness, but like there's a shared career, there's a shared focus that we do, but we don't share the same space all the time. I think that's one of the critically important things for us.
Mm-hmm.
I think that the commonality, like when life is tough at work, it doesn't matter where you are. When life is tough at work and you have a space to go home to, whether you're in a relationship or not, and you have a space to go home to that feels welcoming and sometimes quiet when the outside world is making all sorts of noise, that's what it's about. And so when there's been a ton of noise in my professional life and I can come home and Tara and I can share a conversation, I feel like I'm blessed because she's always at least 3 steps ahead of me. But in those conversations, we can pick it up in real time because she knows kind of the day-to-day practice of being an architect. And so it's like the way that I would describe our 22-year marriage and longer relationship is that it's been one conversation that's just been ongoing. We never have to restart. You know what I'm saying? Like, we never have to restart. It's the same very long conversation. And sometimes there's different chapters of that conversation.
That's a bar, bro. You can't just don't. You can't speak through that. You said it's just one conversation that is ongoing. That is fire. Are you
Yeah.
serious? So you literally, instead of, because this is what I love this. I love this. Instead of being stuck in the beginning of the conversation or stuck in the process of the conversation, you just keep the conversation going. I'm always learning. I'm always asking. I'm
That's it.
always
That's it.
curious. You know what I'm saying? Who is she
Yep.
today? Who is she
Who am I
becoming?
today, bro?
Yeah,
Who am I?
Who am I today? Oh, come on.
Right.
That's a bar. Alex, that's a
Right.
bar, bro.
No,
Wow.
we can run with it, right? So
Yeah,
it's
run
like
with it then. Oh my God.
that what I mean with the same conversation is that there's momentum that's built in that. And when I think it's a singular conversation, it's going to have its good days, it's going to have its bad days, it's going to have its challenges, it's going to have its ups and downs. That's all part of what a good relationship can endure. And so we've always, I think subconsciously, I've never said it this way, so this is the first time it's coming out this way, but like we've always considered it the same conversation. We're all like, and it goes back to what I was saying a couple minutes ago. We both want the same thing long term. We want the same thing. It might feel a little bit different today for me than it did yesterday, but if we can go back to that same foundational conversation, that's been key for me. I don't know if Tara would agree, but that's been key for me in kind of this evolution of who we both are, right? Like we change over time. And then the relationship has changed over time and it goes through phases. And I don't have a lot of advice for folks that are in relationships because they're so personal. One of the things that I would offer is you have to know that it's going to change over time. And you have to be accepting that it's going to change over time. And if you can be, what I would challenge is that if you can take that acceptance and take it even a little bit further and encourage the change over time.
Right.
That's,
It's encouraging. Now, see, so we can get to like the individuality of relationships. I like that, even that wording, that perspective, because everybody's relationship is indeed theirs. I cannot tell
yes.
you how your relationship should be because it is
Mm-mm.
individualistically created by 2 individuals. I can't get in the middle of that. Does that make
No,
sense? So
it makes perfect sense.
when people be like, man, I'm a relationship expert because I've done a lot of counseling, with my work, as a pastor for many years, I was a pastor. The reality is that I've always said that I can't tell grown people what grown people should do with other grown people. And as long as you guys agreeing and ain't nobody killing nobody, hey, you know what I'm saying? So for
Right.
me, it's always been but we can gain some wisdom in some of that individualistic creation that you guys, have had. Because your relationship it's worked. I mean, we know nobody's
Oh, it's
perfect,
worked.
but it's worked for you guys for
No,
sure.
let me say this. Let me say this. It's perfect for us.
Oh, let's talk that talk then. It's perfect for y'all for sure.
Okay. It's for perfect for us.
Yeah.
And so there's ways that Tara and I communicate, and there's obviously a commitment that outlasts, that outshines really any other relationship that we both have, or either one of us have.
Mhm.
But it's ours and it works for us. And so I'm like you. I will not, I'm not naive or egotistical enough to think, hey, what works for Tara and I is going to work for everybody else. I think that
Right.
that's where we get into some danger. Like there's some danger conversations that occur of, hey, do this or do that. Like that. Who are you?
Right. That's what and I keep trying to tell people this is the reason why I believe our conversation, this reason I believe this podcast is necessary, is because, you know, and the way that I think and the way that I talk and the way that I interact in relationships, I think is helpful or brings some value to the community, is that uh, people keep talking about the outcome. My relationship will not produce the same outcome. It's two different people, four different people, five different people. How many people in your
Right.
variable? It's going
Right.
to produce something that is not the same because of the variables. You human being. That's the issue. We don't think the same. We might look at something, all of us, and see absolutely something different. My perspective could help you,
Right.
but it's
Right.
not the end. It's not the end all be all in the decision making of any
And,
individual. So I love the way you
and
said
I,
that.
no, I appreciate that. I mean, I think that the perspective can help,
Hmm.
and we all might have lived an experience that we can share, right? Like
Right,
I might be going through
right.
something and I might reach out to you and you might be, hey, have I experienced something similar?
Yep.
But I think that there's difference between that level of sharing and or advice versus a prescriptive, do it this way, or try to model or a mimic a relationship that isn't yours.
Right. All right.
Um,
Right. 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 Right.
so let me ask you this, right? Like, so one of the things that you and I have talked about was process versus outcome.
Hmm.
So what outcome are you working towards?
I don't. I'm beyond expectations now. I don't have any outcome that I'm working towards. Now I am actively trying to be the best I can be in the space I'm in right now. So,
Hmm.
like I'm not trying to build this humongous podcast. What I'm trying to do is let people hear the conversation, like
Hmm.
the things that are happening in between. Like, and I want people to see that and hear that. And I think that is helpful in the sense that globally, we are struggling. You know, there are people who are in the process of trying to go from point A to point B, but don't understand that point B is just another point to take you to point C. It never stops. The goal
Right.
never changes. The post keeps pushing back. So I'm in this space where they said that I was supposed to be transitioning to middle age, and this is where people have their where they had a middle age breakdown. I don't know what they call it. What they call it with a middle age breakdown, where the people get to middle
Midlife
age.
crisis, the midlife
Midlife crisis.
crisis.
That's how much I know about the midlife crisis. I don't study it. I don't
Right.
look at it. I don't care nothing about it. I
Right.
don't even know the words for it. Okay. But
Right. Right.
I'm not experiencing it. What I'm experiencing is some vitality that I never thought that I would have. That my mind is
Mm.
in a creative space that I never thought I would have. That I'm in a place relationally that I thought I would never have. That I have friends that is multi-ethnic that I thought that I would never have. But the path that I was on, I was chasing a goal. But all that path was doing was really it really put me in place, bro, to meet the people that I've met in my life. My life is richer because of my path. It's not because
When
of a
did you
goal.
realize that?
I
When did
realized
you, because there's a
when
mindset shift.
here it's what happened 2020. I mean, you noticed when the world was shutting down, I was having a metamorphosis. I didn't die. Who I was died.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? And so I was
Yeah.
having a situation because I was chasing. I knew that moment was coming. I had perceived it. I felt it for years. I was trying to keep my community in front of that, speaking on, teaching on that. I was exploring different ideas about religion at the time, and so I end up in a space where I stopped chasing the ideas. My uncle told me one day, way back, he said, "Nephew, you're so idealistic." He said, "You need to be more realistic." And I was like, "Man, what is he talking about?" because I had these ideas that I thought this is what the world, but I was a young man. I was in my 20s. We think we know what the world is about. We don't know shit. We
Right.
don't know nothing, nothing, and I thought I knew. I thought I knew about religion. I thought I knew about God. I thought I knew about how a woman relationship should be, how family structure should be set up. I thought I knew. And I thought I would be in a certain place. And then when that didn't happen, I started realizing that I was missing powerful moments in my life along the journey that could have been so powerfully meaningful to me. But because I was
Mm,
chasing the goalpost, I missed those minor things. Now I don't miss them
mm.
anymore. So I feel as rich as the thing that I was looking for my whole life right now.
So I'm going to put us in the same camp, if I might.
Mm-hmm. Y'all
How
see
do we
how?
share?
Do y'all see what my brother just did? He just took over this interview. This is Scorpio tactics with that excellent question and got me talking. He's supposed to be talking. Do y'all see what he just
No,
did? And I'm
no, man.
acknowledging.
No, 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 no,
I'm
no,
no,
no, no, no.
no, no, no,
Marquez,
no.
if you know one thing and I know one thing and we have a conversation, we both know two things,
Come on, say it. Say it.
right? So how
Big
do
brother.
we,
Okay.
how, you throw me off. How
He's
do
so slick.
we,
He's so slick.
so you said something that I thought was really, really provocative and
Okay.
worth spending a little bit of time on.
Let's go there.
You had a, you had a mindset shift change in 2020. I think that
Mm.
was a challenging time for really
Yes,
everybody.
absolutely.
Um,
Absolutely.
and I've had a similar change, and it started off more in the professional side of celebrating process versus a specific outcome.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's translated into my time outside of the office and who I want to become. So let me ask you this. 2020 was traumatic for the entire planet. And I know you personally, you were going through a lot of things. I won't go into any detail here. That's your choice, obviously. How
Sure.
do we promote that mindset? How do we promote that uh, awareness to folks that haven't experienced a trauma that would cause them to maybe think that way? Because I think that it's so rich, to borrow your language. We shouldn't wait for somebody's traumatic or life-changing experience to get to that. How do we promote that it's
Mm-hmm.
the journey is much better than whatever the outcome or the goal may have been?
You know what? I think having these stories talked about, just having a
Okay.
conversation, just the fact that we're gonna have to really sit down with so many people, so that so many people can know that these stories are actually real stories. That this is the journey. Like you're not getting past this. I don't care if you're 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70. Like
Right.
generationally, we should be sharing these stories. And I think this is part of what this is the other side is what it's going to be about. It's just going to be about really putting people in front of other people to hear the real life story. Like you're going to see with Gladys, who was married 50 years, that Alex, and Tara have a similar portion of their story that is similar to theirs, and that Alex and Gladys can share something that would be something that you and your wife could glean from, and then you can share that
Right.
straight down the pipe of somebody who either begin the beginning of a story, and they saying, "Hey, man, me and this woman might want to get married, but guess what, bro? We're not on the same page." Well, hey, remember Alex had a common denominator early on in a relationship that was helped them to understand each other as they process through the different parts of their life and the journey. So I think that for me, that is the thing that's going to be helpful to get the
Okay.
people to get people comfortable enough to come into a space to share that very uncomfortable space. Because that
Mm,
journey, as much as me and you're talking and articulate it in a way that it sounds good because we're like that. But the truth of the matter, there's some real life painful memories and some moments that I personally didn't think I was going to get through it. Like I thought
mm,
this was it. Like
mm,
this pain, this is awful. Like I've never experienced anything like this. And I'm sure there have been moments in your life, even if it has not been so catastrophic in as far as comparison. But I cannot take away that there was a moment for you that you're like, man, if this don't fucking work, I am done. Like this is over with. I am through. It could have been in a moment in your marriage. It could have been a moment in your
mm,
health. It could have been a moment with your child. It could have been a moment with your business. It could have been with a
Mhm.
parent. It could have been yourself. It could have been something in your head that said, you suck and you don't live up to, and you like, if I don't deal with this thought is going to take me out of here. Everybody has
Mhm.
that moment. That's
You
where I'm
think
trying
everybody
to,
has that moment?
I think every single individual in some kind of context, in some moment in their life that they say, either what is there to live for,
Mm.
or I'm fighting for my life to live longer.
Mm.
That makes sense?
It does. I will say I've had moments, but nothing that's been that catastrophic. Nothing
Right,
that's gone all the
right,
way to that edge.
right.
You've seen me when we met each other. I was deep in some of the early conversations with a moment like that, right? Like I
Mm-hmm.
mentioned, like Tara and I have three beautiful children.
Mm-hmm.
I did
Boys,
not feel
boys,
good.
girls, boys, girls. If you want free, I got free.
Oldest girl, yeah, no, that's fine. Oldest girl in, college, freshman year of college, middle boy, freshman year of high school. And then
Mm-hmm.
we've got a seventh grade, girl. All of them are awesome kids.
For sure.
So go back, we met, 8 years ago?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't feel good. Physically, I did not feel good.
Mm-hmm.
Mentally, I did not feel great. Um, and I don't remember if there was a singular moment or if it was just kind of this general recognition that if I didn't change who I was physically and have a commitment to myself, I wasn't going to be able to see my kids XYZ, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
at some point I wasn't going to be here. And,
Right.
and, and I still understand that I'm not going to be here for everything and for all, but there was, there was a commitment of why am I going to be the reason to miss out on something? And now that I've said it out loud, maybe it was, I lost my mom in early 2015.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
she was, a lifelong smoker, diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what took her out. And she was one of my biggest champions, and she certainly was her grandchildren's biggest champion. And so I don't know if it was kind of this layering of those things where, you know, how irresponsible would it be for me to not take care of myself in a better fashion to be here for the long term for my family and be able to
Mm-hmm.
provide for whatever. And I'm talking about in that context, provide is so much beyond financially, right?
Of
Like
course,
that,
of course,
right? Like,
of course.
um, and so I think that starting off our journey together, our fitness journey together, if we want to call
Mm-hmm.
it that, like that was the beginning I think if I wouldn't have found that place,
Right.
if I wouldn't have,
And what place was that IO fit? You know, we
IO
have props
Fit,
to Jody
yeah, Jody
and
and
Michael
Michael,
and my
and like
dogs. That's our homies.
I, I, I,
Uh,
I was terrified.
we love them.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And they've created a place that is, which interesting, right? Like we're going to go back to process. And I said
Mm-hmm.
that like,
Mm-hmm.
at a point in my career, where the process outweighs the thing,
Mm-hmm.
they've created a place that is incredibly powerful. And it doesn't matter what it looks like, what it feels like physically. It doesn't
Mm-hmm.
matter. It's a place where at that time, let's see, I'm going to do some math. 8 years ago, dude, I was 38,
Yep.
pushing 300 pounds, not feeling good, not being able to do anything. Joined. I was terrified that I was not going to fit in, terrified that whatever, that I wasn't going to feel comfortable,
Mm-hmm.
mentally comfortable.
Right. Right. Right.
There still is no physical comfort, by the
No,
way.
no,
Like,
and what Alex is talking about, y'all. We do CrossFit. We do CrossFit.
yeah.
It's more functional fitness now. We added some other things to the modality that we do, but we do CrossFit, and people think we're crazy for doing this. And me and Alex been doing it for the last 8 years. I'm a CrossFit coach. I coach at the gym that we are at, and Alex, like you said, I came there 295, 280, 285. I'm a very tall guy. But I was a very big guy. Hated running together. We used to be dreading running, doing those 200 meters,
Yeah.
400 meters running down South Taylor, thing around Washington, I think it was. Uh,
Yep.
but we hated it, man. So I feel the pain, bro. But yeah, go ahead. Go ahead and continue.
No, I was going to say, like, if
That,
there's
that,
ever
I
been,
saw that process. Like, I saw that.
that's what I'm saying. Like, that's like, if there's ever been a testimony for the value of a process, it's one towards health
Yeah, for sure.
because, because you're never done. You're
Right.
never done. You, we're never at a point where, hey, I'm healthy.
Hmm.
And that's the end of the sentence.
Hmm.
And that means I can do whatever I want or not make good decisions. Like that is a constant, journey. It's a
Hmm.
constant search, I think, for what health means. And so
Hmm.
I was grateful to Michael and Jody and ultimately you because we met in that space
Hmm.
and have helped coach me up and keep me for all intents and purposes, healthy and
Hmm.
uninjured. And
Hmm.
there's nothing better than feeling like you're making progress during process when the outcome isn't the thing.
Okay, so let me ask you a question. Because there was a
Also,
time,
first of all, dude, that was a
uh,
bar. Process during progress. Come on. Come on.
that, that's hard. Y'all really don't know this. That Alex is also a hip hop head. Like my
Damn.
boy is a
I grew up on Yo
hop
MTV Raps.
hip hop head. So when I tell you, listen, I am authentic in my real life relationships. This brother is a thinker. This dude is a hip hop head. If y'all know about me, y'all know I was a rapper. My mama Your MTV Raps, BT. I used to watch the Basement, Rap City, all that stuff. Out. My parents, me and my mother, my brothers are arguing on we gonna watch Rap City or Bobby Jones Gospel. You know what I'm saying? On our way to church because I had that influence in my life. And so me and this brother really, really, we have grew our friendship also around hip hop, but we're gonna save that
Yep.
for another conversation because there's some depth here. Y'all don't understand that. But as it relates to the fitness journey, the health journey for you as a
Yeah.
man, you know,
Yeah.
understanding, because I know how driven you are in making sure that you do meaningful work and that you provide for your family. But also, how many times me and you've had that conversation where the challenge came to really take your health serious. Like, hey, bro,
Yeah. Yeah.
this is the thing you can't run away. And how because I know you've had some times where you had some injuries, you had some moments like, man, I don't know if I can keep. You got like frustrated. Talk to us a little bit about that. And that moment where you were like, man, I got to make a decision about my health for real.
I mean, I'm I feel like I'm always in a moment of that. Right
Hmm.
now I'm dealing with a knee thing.
Hmm.
I've been
Hmm.
frustrated for the last few months. Um, Here's how I cope with that. I know that if I get up out of bed at 5 o'clock in the morning and I make a commitment to go to the gym and be there by 6
Hmm.
and put in 45 minutes of work, I'm a better person than if I don't do any of that. And
Talk to me.
even when I'm frustrated because I feel like I can do more, but if not for this hurts or this pain or whatever it is, whatever the daily ailment is, I know that it's a step. It might be a small step that day, but it's a step in the direction that I want to head. And so I think that if folks are considering a commitment to health, a commitment to being active, I know that it's cliche, but like take some small steps. That's all it takes and find somebody or find a group of folks that are willing to walk with you.
Hmm.
Um, you can share that experience together. It always makes it's my experience, those shared moments, especially when they are shared struggle,
Hmm.
they're easier
Oh,
when it's a group, right? Hey, we're in this together. There's an accountability. There's
Mm.
plenty days where where my alarm's gone off and I'm like, yeah, I don't want to go today, but I know if I don't go, then Marquez is going to call me out on some bullshit. So I'm going,
All
right?
on
Like,
your head, you sucker. Get up.
right?
Yeah,
Right?
for sure. Absolutely, because that's what we do. And it's like some people can take that and look at that in a more in a misogynistic way. Like, oh, look at these guys and their bravado and all that testosterone. But there's some brotherhood. There's some some push in there that comes from some good masculinity, between some brothers and say, hey man, I don't care about, your orientation. I don't care about none of that other stuff. What I'm here to do, and we see that, especially in our gym, we see that all the time
Right?
where it's really
Right?
about inspiring each other just to be better because we care about people. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
You're good
That's
people.
it.
We vibing. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to
Yeah.
get you to the other side of whatever you're chasing, whatever you're trying to get away from, whatever you're running from, whatever you're trying to get yourself to as far as your health, your mental health. Because I found that not just physically has it been something that pushed me, Alex, but mentally
Shit.
being in the
Go.
community.
Oh my God. Dude, like,
Oh my goodness.
uh, you can't have one without the other. And so I'm glad you brought up kind of the mental health aspect of, first of all, day to day and specifically in the gym and kind of what I've experienced as a result or kind of part of that process is that I'm going to go back to what I said before. It's all the same conversation. You,
Yeah.
you can't, you can't thrive in any aspect of life if you completely negate or walk away from others. It has
Hmm.
to be a balance. Now, let me clear that up a little bit. I think that if you've got some poison in your life, whether it's habits, whether it's people, whether it's whatever, try to walk away as much as you can from that. But
Hmm.
living a balanced life is really important. So
Hmm.
you said kind of that commitment. So now I'm gonna get like totally weird with you for a second. So
No, come on, weirdo. Come
when
on,
I
let's go.
turned 40,
Uh-huh.
40,
Uh-huh.
so a minute ago, when I turned 40, and this is for folks that may be listening, I found myself a doctor. Like, you know how stupid that sounds to say out loud? You know how
Well,
dumb
it's
that
just
sounds to say
real.
out loud?
Come on.
Right? There
Right.
was a commitment of, I'm going to do this for myself and I'm going to do this for my family. And I guarantee you when I go see this person, it's going to be a very uncomfortable conversation.
Probably. Hmm.
And you know what? Who gives a shit? Because if you're
Who?
waiting to hear, if you're waiting to hear only good news, who gets
Oh,
better when all they hear is good news?
right. Now, listen. Talk to that. Speak on that. Speak on the importance of being able to see this. I'm not gonna bring you back on, bro, because there's just too much for us to be able to unpack.
Sure.
Our minds are too evolved, and so we must share our thoughts in all these perspectives. Then now you got to be thinking about what I'm gonna ask other guests because you might have to come on and help me interview. But listen, so I mean, we had to just go ahead and go because the next person I'm interviewing, he has this mind just from a Leo's perspective. I think the
Okay.
conversation between the three of us would be excellent. But um, how do you overcome the moments in your mind where you are dealing with family, you're dealing with your workload? Another thing people don't understand is that you helped design, I think, one of LeBron James projects, right?
Yeah. The I Promise housing down in Akron. Yeah.
Yeah. I told you I got a heavy hitter on here. I just a little
I
soft
never
blood,
met him. I have not met
smart
him.
blood.
I've
You
met
don't need to
I've
meet
met
him.
his mother.
You don't need to meet him. The fact that he did it for it. I just want
I
y'all to
kind
know
of,
that. Just,
kind of want to meet him, but okay.
well, I've seen met him a couple times, but
I'll look at you.
people try to say I'm just looking like his mom said the same thing, but I was bigger. I was fat goddamn. But anyway, back to what we're talking about.
You just called
So
LeBron fat, bro. You just called LeBron
no,
fat. He's going to
his
kick your
pockets.
ass.
Listen, Bronny, I don't want no problem. But listen, give me a 10-day contract, bro. I can do exactly what your
He can
son
do
is
it.
doing. No, but his son is killing. I don't care what nobody say. The boy's going to be good, and I was going to have this conversation about nepotism and all this stuff. And people talking about, I can't believe that LeBron got his son. What would you do if you had that kind of power
Exactly.
and that kind of position,
Exactly.
and you want to give your a kid, he want to pursue the same thing? I would say you're going to give him a $9 million contract. Or I'm leaving. What are you talking about?
Right.
Crazy. How dare y'all? Why would he not use the man? Is arguably the second best player to ever play, or the best player to ever play the game of basketball, and he's not going to leverage his name for his son. Get out of here!
Right. Right.
Still
Right.
playing first son, and their names are the same. That's Junior. Are y'all serious?
Yeah. I mean,
I'm sorry.
and I'm not all the way into that world like you are, but I mean, like just the pressure that's on both of them,
Yeah,
right? Like, and
yeah.
I've heard interviews with Senior. I've heard interviews with LeBron. I'm not going to call him Senior again, because he'll show up. I hope he shows up. Um, about one of his regrets was naming his oldest, his first son, after him,
Yeah. Right.
and the pressure that comes with that, and these
Right.
unrealistic expectations that
Right.
honestly become burdens for anybody that has to carry that cross or carry
Right.
that legacy. And so the
Mm-hmm.
fact that you've got this young man that's in the NBA, killing it, um,
Hooping.
you know,
Just at
was there
17.
anybody that thought that Junior was going to come in and step in and be the same person as his father? Like, that's just that
Not
if that's where the expectations were, that doesn't
right.
fall on his shoulders. That's shame on everybody else for saying that that's what he should
Right.
be able to do.
That's exactly right.
You've set him
And
up for
that's right.
failure.
That's right. That's right. And it's unfair, but it's not. But it's not unfair because that's the duality of what comes with the having that father who can leverage that way. It's like, okay,
Sure.
your father did exceptional in life, and because he was exceptional in what he does, that puts you in a situation where you kind of come into that shadow. So, but
Right.
he does benefit from that. Now, I believe, based on what I've seen with the family, that LeBron, this is not even talking about basketball, that LeBron's done a good job with just raising their children with values where their children can handle this kind of situation because he's handled it pretty well for you, for a very young man. And LeBron has
I think so.
handled being the who he is, especially not having the support that he's given his children to be the type of man that he is. Come on, man. Come on. We gotta
Right.
respect that
Well,
for sure.
I mean, and I mean, I'll come back to the I Promise initiative, and that's part of the reason why we're so proud to be part of that story, because
Mm-hmm.
you've got one person, right? And I know he's got an entire foundation now, but you got one person that made this commitment, and hearing people talk about the building that we designed and the spaces that are in it and what it
Mm-hmm.
means. I will never forget, we were at an event, at the ribbon cutting, and there were obviously the elected officials were there, and some of the folks on the banking side, like all the folks that you would expect to be at a ribbon cutting and give a speech, gave a speech. The best speech came from a resident.
Mm-hmm.
The best speech came from a resident who said, something along the lines of, this gives me and my son a safe place to be able to call home that I didn't know that I was going to be able to have access to. Come on.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a guy, this comes from somebody that didn't grow up in that same type of environment, has been told by national media pundits to shut up and dribble, and he continues to do things for his community that are, in
Unbelievable.
my opinion, are otherworldly. Otherworldly.
Unbelievable. You can't script this even better for
No.
a story of a young man as far as his journey from obscurity in Akron, Ohio, to becoming the number one basketball player in high
Right.
school, to have eclipsed the expectations that anybody, and I'm talking about in any area, any context along his journey, to insulating his family from stuff, and to even if there has been anything that's happened off the court, we'll never know about it because whoever his team is that freaking
Right.
good. Like
Right.
the dude had the foresight just to be able to be in front of so many, and even when he made some stupid decisions like going to Miami and the way he said it,
Right.
uh, he was even able to flip that, and I just respect the brother's mind. He has an incredible mind, and I
Yeah.
respect his work ethic and what he's done with his family, and so I salute that. But and then even you being a part of that, that's why I salute you that, because we had a point, where this brother is playing 20 some years And see, that's
Yeah,
what I'm talking about
it's
health.
ridiculous.
That's what I'm
Right.
talking about when it comes to health. LeBron James is a prime example.
Yeah.
That you're building
Yeah.
something, I'm building something, LeBron James is building something. But LeBron James gave himself an opportunity to extend his legacy and to bring his son in through a door because he took care of his body.
Yep.
He
Yep.
took care, he put money, and I'm talking about a lot of money, into his body so he could be around to leverage his empire from a healthy perspective in a healthy way. What does that say? What kind of blueprint could that leave for all of us as men, as women, as people who are trying to leave a legacy and who are saying, hey, man, if I even want to see my legacy do anything and put myself, I just want to be healthy enough to be able to be an asset to the people I need to be an asset, whatever that asset is, whoever that
That's
people
it.
is. That's crazy. And that's why we talk about fitness. That's why I talk about health. That's why it's so important to me. You don't know when your time is going to be. You don't know when your
No.
opportunity is going to come.
So let me
Right?
say this because let me say this because I think it puts a bow on a lot of that kind of what you're saying, and I want to spend a minute on legacy.
Mm-hmm.
My opinion is that if you wait until the end of your time to think about what your legacy is, like, it's too late. And so kind of
Mm-hmm.
coming back to that, like,
Mm-hmm.
we try to live that legacy every single day of who is it we are, when we're going to be uncomfortable, leaning into those uncomfortable moments, knowing that that discomfort lasts for a finite amount of time. And on the other side of it, you're going to be bigger, better, stronger, more compassionate, whatever the outcome of being uncomfortable. But that legacy piece is incredibly important, and making sure that no matter how old we are or how young we are, thinking about what decisions we make on the daily are going to impact the people around us, and kind of any sort of legacy or wisdom or lasting impact that we can have. I hope that more people could arrive at that place of I got to live it every single day. One, don't know how much time we have left. You never know. And
Oh, come
two,
on
like,
now.
wouldn't it
That's the
make it a
truth.
better place to live?
Like, yeah. Yeah.
So,
Yeah. So, Alex, if you could leave the people with something, like from our conversation, you saying, hey, man, y'all listen,
yep.
with my legacy, what would you hope that people can get from the conversation?
From this conversation, the process is the progress.
Mm.
That's incredibly important. Um, and to, no matter what you're doing in life, have it be a continuation of what you started yesterday or the day before. A new chapter doesn't mean a new book. And I go back to
Mm.
the relationship of being a singular conversation. Think of it in terms of that. The day-to-day ups and downs don't have as big of an impact if it's a long-term thinking. And I think that that's what that leads towards. So, look, today is going to be a great day. Tomorrow might not be, but you got another one after that, hopefully. And
Mm.
if you don't, if you live your life the right way and if you live your legacy, it'll be okay.
For sure. Hey, bro, listen, I appreciate your friendship. You know that, right?
I appreciate you, man. Like,
Th- Thanks for the conversation, bro. Oh, man, I'll see you on the other side. Yeah?
I'll see you. Yeah.
All right, bro. Talk to you
All right.
soon.
I'll see you. All
Yep.
right. Take care. All right.
Nice. Good stuff, man.
All right.